Right, so welcome everybody to tonight's therapy spotlight, and I've got the lovely Lindsay joining us tonight. And Lindsay is a spiritual entrepreneur, which is really an interesting way of describing what you do. So, would you like to introduce yourself and a little bit about the work that you do?
Yeah, so my name is Lindsay Banks, and like you said, I've recently decided to call myself a spiritual entrepreneur because I do quite a lot of stuff. And what I was really struggling with was sort of like listing everything that I do. So I thought spiritual entrepreneur sort of covers most of what I do. So I am an author. I self-published a book last year called A Gentle Hug for the Soul. I've created online courses, I run networking events. I've just run my first event for businesses, so not just spiritual businesses, but other businesses. I do tarot card readings, angel card readings, past life readings, Akashic record readings. I speak to dead people. I do just such a variety of stuff. Like sometimes it blows my mind. And then, do you know what I mean? I offer Reiki, I do distance healing, crystal healing, and anything and everything spiritual, basically.
Oh, amazing. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
So A Gentle Hug for the Soul was written because in October 2016, on my birthday, I lost my best friend to cancer. And then several months later, my husband and I decided to get divorced. Then his brother and my solicitor both said you need to live together until the house sells. So yeah, we had sort of 7 months of living together. I'm an empath, he's a narcissist. And yeah, it was a very difficult time. And during that time, I had to literally use like all these tools that I'd learned about in theory and actually put them into practice. So tools such as mindfulness, gratitude, speaking to angels. You know, I was going to spiritualist church every week to go and see mediums to get reassurance and messages for myself that I was doing the right thing and I was on the right path. And when I came out of this time period, I realized that I'd gone through my own sort of dark night of the soul, which is a bit misleading because it's not just one night, it can be a period.
No.
Yeah, because you think, oh, it's just one night, it'll be fine.
I can do it.
Yeah, 6 or 7 months later, you're like, is this ever going to end?
Oh, bless you.
But I didn't even realize that until recently that that's what it was. When I came out of that time, I thought, you know what? I felt so lucky that I'd had these tools to call upon to utilize during what could have been a really well, it was a stressful time, but you know, in terms of my mental, spiritual, and emotional health, I came out of it relatively unscathed. So I just started writing this book. So I started in the April 2018, and I self-published it on the anniversary of Lisa's passing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so it contains, it's a bit about my journey, and it's a bit of sort of like little tips that can help you as well. So rather than having to go, you know, like go and buy a massive book on mindfulness or a massive book on gratitude, they're just little things that you can start to incorporate in your daily life that might sort of serve you well for any sort of stressful situation. And it won an award in March this year in the Soul and Spirit Awards.
Oh, that's amazing. Well done.
Yeah, so it was high. It's such a mouthful though, right? It was highly commended in the best real life spiritual self-help book.
Oh my goodness. No one enters that, you know, you have to write such a long thing. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think, you know, you touch on something that's so important there is it's in our darkest times that we really have our sort of belief and that connection that we can rely on. And that's what pulls us through. But also that it's at that time that we develop ourselves so much, but we don't see it at the time because we're so in the situation, don't we? And when we look back, you realize your own inner strength and you know how much you've grown in that time.
Definitely, yeah. It was definitely because I think so. When my friend passed, the grief had hit me so much, and I just remember thinking, oh my God, I can't remember the last time that I allowed myself to fully cry or to fully laugh, and I'd been sort of like emotionally flatlining, and I'd just become so emotionally numb to life. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I want to experience the highs as well as the lows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
to feel like I'm alive again. So yeah.
No, absolutely. And then tell us a little bit about the different events that you run.
Yeah, so I've run a few workshops. So I did my first Gentle Hug for the Soul workshop this year, which was really good fun. So we basically took some of the tools from the book and put them into practice. So we did some crystal chakra balancing, we practiced using angel cards, we did some mindfulness, we did some gratitude, and we did like a little bit of manifesting. So we sort of took the tools from the book and did that. The event that I ran this week was a business event. What I've found in my journey is that being sort of like in the spiritual side, I was going to a lot of traditional networking events, and
yes.
I felt as if I was bringing what I would call the unconventional to the conventional businesses. So I gave a talk for 35 solicitors and accountants around moon cycles and manifesting. And I know, honestly, it was hilarious. I wish I'd taken a photo. There was like 35 men and women there, predominantly men in their 50s, I would say, who were sat sort of with their eyes closed and meditating, and like honestly, I was really,
I love it.
It was hilarious. But like there was four of the men came up to me afterwards, shook my hand and said, "That was a fabulous presentation, Lindsay, well done." And they said, "We could tell it came from your heart." And I thought that meant so much to me, more probably than people who already have that belief in it. So I feel like I've been out there planting seeds and sharing my like unconventionalness, if you like. So what I wanted to do this year was sort of to incorporate a bit of that. So I live in York and we have a business week. And last year, being sort of self-employed, single mom, I couldn't find any of the events that I really wanted to go to. So they either started at 8 o'clock, which was school drop-off time, or they were over pick-up time. And there was nothing really in between, and there was nothing that I felt for me. So I thought, oh, you know what? I'm just going to ask if I can run my own event. So I'd got in touch with them in the summer, the main organisers. I said, can I please run a workshop? And they said, yeah, it's fine, as long as you don't do it on the Monday or the Wednesday, because that's when the main events are. And I felt a bit affronted. I was like, well, mine's going to be
exactly. How rude.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, oh. So yeah, anyway, so I sort of roped in 7 other ladies who I knew were really good at their business and really good at what they did. So I gave a talk about looking after yourself so you can look after your business, incorporating these mindfulness and gratitude and the basics. And then the 7 other speakers talked about how they did business their way. So it was called Your Business Your Way. So rather than someone saying, right, you need a cash flow forecast, you need a business plan, you need this, it's like, it's all changing. People are working on their intuition and following their gut and their instinct, etc. So we had 50 tickets for sale and we're sold out. And I was just like,
amazing.
So yeah, so I very much, for myself, I follow my intuition in my business, and I'm very much guided by upstairs, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it. And touch wood, fingers crossed, whatever, so far they've always sort of guided me along the right way that's right for me and my business. So yeah.
Fantastic. So you're going to be doing another of those events coming up?
Yeah, so I'm hoping, we want to run the same event next year as part of York Business Week. I'm looking at doing, so I've got a Facebook group called Consciousness Arising, which is for anyone interested in spiritual topics such as dreams, synchronicities, the universe, whatever, angels. So I'm looking at running a 1-day workshop next year for people who are interested in this, where I want to be able to teach the external tools that people can use to I'm trying to work out the words in there, but like enhance their inner intuition. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, so, yeah.
Like crystals and cards, but to get to know their to listen to their inner intuition better, basically. Yeah. So I loved running the event, and I love teaching, and I love being able to inspire people. So I would like to. That's what I feel I'm drawn to do next year, is to run more events, speak at more events, and be in more events.
Oh, fantastic. And I love the way that you are bringing what everyone calls woo into the sort of business world as, an extra tool. And, if you're using your woo in business, actually you're ahead of the game. And I think that's a great way of, you know, getting a totally different market that I think a lot of us are quite, you're either corporate or you woo, and you can't be both. And it's something I personally have struggled with. You know, I've kept my LinkedIn profile separate from my other business. So I do run 2 businesses. And it's one of those things that have been playing on my mind, because in doing that, you separate parts of yourself when you never feel fully one person, do you? Because I am woo. I've always been woo, but I've also been corporate, and it's how do you bring those two together? And I just think, you know, your example is a great example. So I really like that.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about if I was going to, do you do one-to-one work? And if I was going to be one of your clients, what is your sort of typical one-to-one client look like?
So there's 2 ways that I work at the minute. So I do one-to-one healing, so in person. So people come around, and the way I describe is like, I do a bit of Reiki, I throw a few crystals on you, but I try not to throw too hard. I do a bit of smudging and I do a bit of drumming. So the in-person bit, I feel like it started off being as Reiki, then it sort of developed into crystal healing, and then it's just my own style of energy healing. As I'm doing it, sometimes I will get spirits through, sometimes I get angels through, sometimes I get past life stuff through for that person. But it's funny because when I learned my Reiki, have you learned Reiki?
Yeah.
So when I first learned my Reiki master, like 10 years ago, whatever, and she was saying about distance healing, I thought, how can I heal someone who's in a different country? That's ridiculous. And it was only in January this year, and I was watching Gaia, and I'd watched a particular program, and you know when something just clicks, and I was like, and it was to do with energy and vibration. I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to try this. So I'd been in my group, and I said, right, I need a guinea pig. I'm going to try and practice checking your chakras from a distance, and I'm going to feed back and tell you what comes up. So I had a lady who was like, yeah, I'll be a guinea pig. So I did a chakra check for her, and I voice recorded it and sent it to her, and I said, your solar plexus chakra, I says, I'm feeling it's really congested, and I feel like it's to do with apples. I said, I've got no idea why, but I'm just feeling apples. And then I also had like a throat chakra blockage. And again, I said, I feel like you've watched something recently, which has made you think of a person and brought back a memory. I said, and I feel like you haven't fully grieved that person. So she came back to me and she just went, oh my God, Lindsay, she went, I put 7 apples in an apple juice this morning with the skins on. And she went, I have never felt so bloated in my life. She said, my stomach's been going crazy all day. And I was just like, oh my God, that's weird. And then she said, last night I was watching a movie, and in this movie was a man, and it was like my granddad. And she said, and I did get really choked up, and I haven't fully finished grieving for him. And I was just like, oh my God,
that's amazing.
So I do energy healing distantly, and I do my readings all distance as well, because I've got 2 little kids. It's about trying to people and work around them. Do you know what I mean? So I just tune in and ask, right, what does this person need to know? I do the cards and do the mediumship work as well. So a lot of it's distance,
Tell us a little bit about the past life, and you mentioned to me a bit earlier the Akashic records as well. My audience doesn't know a lot about that, so just share with us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so with the past life readings, like I said before, when I was doing the actual in-person healing, I was starting to get past life stuff through for people. So again, I went to my group and I just thought, you know what, if I can do this in person, I'm going to ask if I can do it, have a few guinea pigs. So I had 3 guinea pigs. And what I did was I just asked again upstairs universe, right, which past life does this person need to know most about right now? And what lesson do they need to learn from that? And I did several, I've got a pack of cards by Kyle Gray called Angels and Ancestors, and did several of these cards as well. And there was one lady in particular, and I said to her, I said, I feel as if you were born British, I said, but you were sent off to Australia, you know, as a prisoner. And I said, I just feel as if in that past life, you were very much chained and you were controlled and you were told what to do, etc. And I said, I feel like in this life, you don't have those same restraints, and you need to learn that they're not there, and it's about freeing yourself, etc. And she emailed me straight away and she went, you're the second person, Lindsay, this week who's told me that I had a past life in Australia. And I was just like, you know, when you just say, oh my days. And then the Akashic records. So basically, for anyone who doesn't know what they are, for every soul that is incarnated on this planet, there is a book. I can't say it properly because I'm a Geordie, so Southerners or book. So there's a book which basically contains everything to do with past lives, to do with your spirit guides that walk with you, that tells you sort of like which planet you came from, etc., etc. And I'd had one of these done for myself about 11 years ago. And when I listened to the CD that this man had made, I cried, because I just thought, how does this man know what I classed as flaws back then? He knows what I'm good at. He told me that I would be involved with crystals before I'd even bought my first crystal. He told me that I would be in the media, and I've had a lot of media coverage this year. So there was things that he told me that I have come true, and different spirit guides who have since made an appearance. I sat in a meditation about 6 months ago, and so for me, I sometimes get like a tapping on my head or what feels like a fuzziness, and I'm like, okay, I'll sit down, I'll meditate. And literally, as soon as I closed my eyes, I was greeted by a group of people who were really excited, and they were like, you need to come with us, Lindsay, you need to come with us. And I was like, where are we going? And there was one chap in particular took me down this long corridor, opened the door, switched on the light, and I was in a library full of these books. And I said to her, I was like, why are you so excited? Why am I here? And he said, Lindsay, he says, you've earned this. He says, we want you to be able to access the Akashic records for others. And I was like, well, how do I do that? He said, you just need their permission, and you can come in and look at their Akashic records and give them that information. And then I was just like, I came out of it swearing. I was like, what the actual? I was just like, I can't believe that. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? So I came out there, and again, asked for guinea pigs in my group, and I did 3 readings. And again, a lot of the stuff, so some of it's to do, so when I do the readings, some of it's past life, some of it's like about your life purpose and your future and where I can see you. Some of it's about your spirit guides, your soul group, your planet, etc. So I gave these people all this information, and again, a lot of it like resonated with what they'd already been told or what they'd already seen themselves in a meditation, etc. So yeah.
No, that's amazing. I do a lot of past life work as well, also specifically to shift energy that's blocking their life in this lifetime. And, you know, every time it always resonates with the person, you know, and you could say, okay, well, you were the king of Egypt, and then you can feel that doesn't feel right. But then you could say, you know, what you're getting, and it does feel right. And it's amazing how your own body almost can feel what is real and what isn't. I love doing the past life work. It's so interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And is it visual for you, or are you sort of clairvoyant,
So it started off just being clairsentient from using the Reiki. It was very much like a feeling I would get. And over the years it's progressed. So I have like the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. So it's a real mixture of all the different sort of senses. Yeah. But generally, when I close my eyes, especially when I'm doing the Reiki now, or if I'm holding the piece of paper, I can just see it in my mind's eye, just clear as day. So yeah,
it's like the movie just runs.
yeah. Because it's really, I remember when I first started getting into this, and I remember people saying that, you know, oh, you just see it, and I was like, but how can you just see it? How? And then when you do get to that point where you can see it, it's really difficult to explain to someone else how they can see it as well.
You know, you're so right. And it leads me on to the next thing I wanted to chat about is that sort of journey. You know, so many people in our group want to progress with their journey. They want to help others. They themselves are healers or want to become healers. So, you know, how did you get into this? How did you start?
So from an early age, I was always interested in like spirits and ghosts. And I always felt like my house was sort of haunted. And I borrowed a book from my grandma, which was about, it was called Voices in My Ear by Doris Stokes, who was a famous medium in the 1970s. And I remember thinking, oh my God, she can speak to dead people, and that there's something else when you pass. And I think literally from the moment that I read that, like I've never had any issues with death or grieving or, do you know what I mean? I've always known there's something else for people. And then it wasn't until, I think it was 2002, and I was studying international business in Hong Kong. And a friend of mine went on this retreat, and he came back saying, oh, I've been laughing, I've been crying. I was like, what have you been doing? Why would you want to go somewhere to cry? And he said, oh, I've been learning Reiki. And he put his hands on my back, and I just remember feeling this like intense heat. And I was like, what? And he went, that's the Reiki. So I was all right. And anyway, I went back to uni, you know, carried on, got my degree. And then, so my degree was international business, which is so far removed from what I'm doing. Got a job working for Tesco, went off to work for them, and it was my first sort of corporate job. And I started down in Peterborough, and it was the biggest Tesco I'd ever been in. And on my first day, I was greeted by a manager who went, oh, don't worry, Lindsay, no graduates ever stayed here. And to me, I was like, well, that's fighting talk. I'm here forever now. I'm not leaving, I'm here. But like, I think working there, so with retail, you know, the hours are sort of like not really set. It's longer than you think it's going to be. You've got pressures from above and pressures from below. And I think it wasn't until sort of the second or third year in that I really started to feel that stress and that pressure. I broke up with a boyfriend. I moved into another house. I'd lost my, like, I basically had to reapply for my own job. There was a lot of stress going on at once. And I thought, you know what, I need something, but it was more than a massage. I felt like I needed something different. And that's when I remembered Reiki. So this was in 2008. And I went for my first Reiki session. And this crazy lady was telling me about angels and fairies. And I was like, what? And I remember I left, right? And I thought, I've wasted my money and I've wasted my time because I don't feel any different. But because I wasn't aware of what was happening, the effects of it, etc. It took a couple of weeks for all those energies to really settle and to work through. So then she invited me back to go and learn my Reiki level 1. And I thought, you know what? I need to know more. I need to understand it. And that sort of took me on this journey where I started learning about mediumship and crystals and everything else. And I very much compare my spiritual journey to that of the tortoise and the hare, where it's been very slow, very gradual. And it's as if I feel as if I've been quite lucky, if you like, to have been able to take the time to sort of digest any new information that comes in, to process it. And it's like the universe is like, right here, Lindsay, we're going to chuck this in. You need to learn about this now. We'll give you time, process it, understand it, to then be able to share with others. So
I love that. Yeah. And I think for a lot of us, Reiki is that sort of stepping stone. It's that starting point for us to start to understand energy systems, to feel other people's energies. And it's something that you can follow all the positions and feel like you're doing it right. And then you get a little bit of confidence and you can relax and then really feel what you're feeling. And that really starts to develop your skills.
Definitely.
So one of the things I talk about all of the time in the group is meditation. How often do you meditate?
Not that much, to be honest. So when I was having to live with my ex, I meditate every single day. I was like, I need time out, I need space, I need clarity, etc. So I would meditate every day. And I think what I found is when it gets to the point where I haven't meditated for a few days, I said I get this pat on the head and this feeling. So I'm like, okay, I'll sit, I'll do you know what I mean? But sometimes I'll, like, if I'm going to pick the kids up, if I've got a spare 5 minutes, I just sit in the cars with my eyes closed and just do that deep breathing. So even though it's not like, right, I'm going to sit in meditation for 20 minutes, to me, just even having that 5 minute space to concentrate on doing the deep breathing is meditative in itself.
Absolutely.
And I find yoga quite meditative. And, I feel sometimes I think we can get quite hung up on the fact that you have to meditate like for so many minutes per day. But I find, for myself, I found that the more that I did it in the beginning, the less that I've had to do it now. Because I feel you become more aware of when you need that space and that time.
I totally agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like a muscle, I think. But also, as you're saying, it doesn't have to be one specific way. So it's that consciousness, that awareness, that sort of focus on not everything else and not being stressed out and just making that time to connect. And you've got that awareness of your non-physical team around you saying, we want to get a message through, and then you do slow down and let it in. And this is, for me, one of the key parts of meditation, is that the busyness of our lives stop us from hearing that and you know, being aware of that. And when you build that and you know what they feel like, then you will stop and listen. And that's one of the key benefits, particularly for those that want to progress on their journey.
Yeah, and I think as well, just one of the tips I would say is that, like, don't force it, you know, because some people are so desperate to get to the next level. It's like, right, let's listen to the Kundalini Awakening meditation. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. But I think if you force it, it can then push you back a little bit because you're not yet ready for the next step. So I feel like your journey, you have to trust that things will come in when you're ready for the next level. It's a bit like Pac-Man, do you know? So when you're ready for the next level, you'll get there. But sometimes you have to practice where you're at in that time before you're then ready for the next step and the next bit.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. So are there any other tips or advice that you'd give people on their sort of journey or their path?
I think for me, part of it would be about having trust that, again, you can call it what you like. You know, if you're religious, you can call it God or whatever. But I just say that it's the universe, source upstairs. Having trust that they know better, like what is for me than me. So my head sometimes goes, right, Lindsay, this is what you need to do. But it doesn't always pan out the way that I wanted to in my mind. But then I'm like, well, if it hasn't panned out that way, it's because upstairs knows that there's either something better or something bigger. There's a song by Swedish House Mafia, which I love, which says, heaven's in the chorus, it goes, heaven's got a plan for you, or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, whenever I hear that song, it's a reminder that I might have my plan in my head, but upstairs might have a bigger plan for me. So just being able to trust in something and it's a big ask, but trusting something you can't necessarily see, I feel just pays you dividends further along the line. And don't rush it. I mean, enjoy the process of like opening up and being. But one more tip as well. This is a conversation that I often have with my students, is that when you think that you have got to the point where you're like, right, I've healed, you know, I've dealt with all this situation, I've dealt with all this stuff, as you learn more tools and as you progress, that same stuff comes up again because you've learned a new tool, so you can deal with it again in a different way. So, you know, when you see Reiki healers or therapists or whatever, please don't assume that they are healed, because they are still going through their own stuff and it's still coming.
Oh yeah.
Never ending.
No, my group I always talk about the onion and the layers, and it's just another layer that you peel back and then there's more underneath, and it's just different things of the same thing. Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. Come on, you have to tell us, what's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you?
I was thinking about it because I was looking at this question earlier and I was like, I don't know if anything, I mean, lots of funny stuff has happened to me myself. In terms of when I've been working with my clients, I don't think there is, because it's all been sort of like quite sort of, you know, sort of healing stuff. But yeah, I don't know what the funniest thing is. I think in terms of like my work, I would say, so something that happened to me when I started working with these moon cycles, I set my first lot of new moon intentions last January. And one of the things I put on there was that I really wanted to go onto the TV or local radio to talk about crystals or Reiki. And 2 days later, I got an email from a friend saying, do you want to come on the local radio station, Lindsay, and talk about crystals? And you know, you're just like, it's like, no way. And I was like, no way. And I couldn't believe it myself, do you know what I mean? And I was just like, there's things that have happened along my journey and along my path where I've put it out there, I've set the intention, and then it comes back and I'm just like, you know, and sometimes you just laugh at yourself because you're like, I freaked myself out.
Sounds like you're really good at manifesting. So once you've set it, it just comes. That's great.
Yeah, there was another one that I did. So back in, I think it was in the February, I'd written on Facebook, I said, I really have this feeling. I want to go to America. Never been to America before. I don't know where I want to go. Has anyone got any tips or where to go? And 2 weeks after I'd put this post out, there was a lady who I'd sent my book to on Twitter who lives in America. And she emailed me and she said, can we have a Skype call? I said, yeah, it's fine. So she Skyped me and she said, I love your book, Lindsay. She said, I'm going to review it on my Twitter channel. I was wondering if you would think about contributing a chapter for a book I'm putting together about people who've gone through various sort of abuse. I said, yeah, I'd love to, etc. So she went, brilliant. She went, have you got a passport? I said, yeah, why? She went, right, you're coming to Colorado in May. And I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, amazing.
And I was like, guys, I was like, I don't need to research where I'm going. I'm going to Colorado.
Oh, lovely. That must have been amazing. Yeah. So where can people buy your book if they're interested in purchasing it?
So it's available on Amazon. So you can go on there. There's the ebook and the paperback. If you want a signed copy, it's available on my website, which is nrghealing.co.uk.
Okay, lovely. So I am posting the links in the post so anyone can find your Facebook page and join that. And then obviously your website's on there as well. Anything that you would tell your younger self?
I think I would just follow my heart instead of my head. I think my mind tried to make a lot of decisions. Or it did make a lot of decisions when I was younger, which went against what I really believed and what I felt. So yeah. Follow your heart.
No, I totally. It's much harder to be feeling led because we're taught not to. We're taught to be logical, and yet if you follow what feels right, everything just falls into place.
Definitely, yeah.
No, I love that. It's been amazing chatting to you tonight. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And I hope we can work together going forward. So thank you so much for your time. I know the group is absolutely going to love it. And yeah, we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much, Catherine.